Viewers, welcome to Walk Down Memory Lane with Professor Albert Morgan Wright. If you are watching this, it means you have watched all our 3 parts of the first interview we had with him and the wonderful reforms and contributions he made to the College of Engineering, KNUST, and the world at large. So we are continuing, but this time around, he's serving as historian to do with the people whose names appear on the buildings at the College of Engineering. And we are deliberately delving into this because we pass by these buildings every day, and I'm sure some of us wonder, so whose name, who is Dr. Levine? Who is he? Why do we have a building named after him, Levine Building? Why do we have the building with the airplane in front of it called the Bamfo-Kwakye building? Why is the auditorium named after Professor Kuma Play? So today we'll find out why or who these people were, because he had an interaction at a point in time with them. Thank you so much, Professor Albert Morgan Wright, for taking time off your busy schedule. It wasn't easy. He actually gave us today. You're really fortunate. So thank you so much for that. You're welcome once more to our show.
Thank you very much.
So we'll delve right into it. We'll start with Professor Bamfo-Kwakye. Prof, how did you know him? Who was he? Did you ever meet with him?
Yes, I met Professor Bamfo-Kwakye at KNUST. I joined in March of 1963, and he joined around September, having trained in Germany. And he was quite a brilliant person, and so he was quickly promoted through senior lecturer and then associate professor. And he was head of electrical engineering department and became dean of engineering before he was appointed the 3rd vice chancellor of the university. The first one was R.P. Bafo, who was a renowned engineer. The second was Dr. Evans Anfom. He was a medical officer. And the third was Professor Bamfo-Kwakye.
Okay. All right. So you met him because he actually came around the same time, just some months after. That's great. So what are some of the notable reforms or achievements that he made while he was here?
When he was named as Vice Chancellor, before he took over, he met me and said that he would like me to be a candidate for his Pro-Vice Chancellor. And in the end, I became his first Pro-Vice Chancellor. And we worked very closely together. He was a highly religious person, very hardworking. And I would say that whilst he was Vice Chancellor, he was still doing research and development. And he worked on developing traffic lights. We already had some traffic lights in Ghana. They were imported from Britain. And he, from the scratch, developed one which we could use. They were used in parts of Ghana and also in Togo. And there were a number of reforms that he introduced whilst I was with him as his Pro-Vice
Chancellor. Yes.
One of these was his decision to establish, before we just had a registrar in charge of everything, and a deputy registrar. And he decided, from what he had studied about the way Legon administrative structure was, that we too should have what they had in Legon, which was have a section which would be known as academic and student affairs section. So we had the registrar, and then another section which dealt with academic and student affairs. And he was having difficulties getting possibly cooperation or getting somebody appointed as the director. And so he asked me if I would like to serve as such. So in addition to being head of department and Pro Vice Chancellor, I added the responsibility of Director of Academic and Student Affairs. And I had working with me 3 assistant registrars. Yes. So that was one of his innovations. A second innovation, I'll list the innovations, and then if you like, we can talk about them.
Okay.
The second innovation was to actually start the medical school that we now have. He thought that we needed at least a second medical school in Ghana, and we needed approval from government for that. And initially we had a lot of opposition, not from government, but from the University of Ghana at Legon. I guess the fear was that if there were a second medical school, the financial support they get would be shared between us, and we wouldn't get it. They would get less than they were getting at the time. In the end, Bamfo-Kwakye asked me to represent the university in a debate on this issue. The other person was from Legon, that was their Vice Chancellor, Professor Kwapong. So we had a TV debate on this. And the main point I asked was why, Accra is at the very end of the southern part of Ghana, and everything is centered over there. And when people have medical needs, they will travel all the way to Accra, or from northern regions to come. So why is it that if they die also, they must come all the way to Legon Medical School to die? It's important that we should have somewhere midpoint between the north and the south, at least one university medical school. And at that time, fortunately for them, I was also representing the universities on the Medical and Dental Council. And I knew a number of the doctors. So we were able to persuade the government, and they gave approval. Our role in the Medical and Dental Council was to find out if Bamfo-Kwakye would be a suitable teaching hospital. So we invited 3 renowned professors, one from Britain, one from America, and one from Europe. And they went to Kumasi, examined, inspected the hospital there, and they came back to say that it was certainly suitable for use as a teaching hospital. All it needed was soap and water because of the observation of the extent of cleanliness or lack of cleanliness. So that was it. And we have Professor Lane from the medical school to come and help to do the groundwork for it. And the design of the building was done by one of the architects at the university. So that was the medical school. One of the justifications we gave was that our issues at that time were mainly public health issues, communicable diseases. So we would put the emphasis on that.
On public health, yes.
On public health. So that was the initial emphasis. I do not know whether it has shifted from that since the initial years, which was in the 1970s. So that was the medical school. Then the other one was the semester system. Bamfo-Kwakye had some leave of absence in America and saw their academic system, and he seemed to like their semester system compared to the sessional system. I had done both my master's and my doctoral work at Berkeley, so I was familiar with the semester system. So we worked hard to try to introduce it to the university. And we found that one possible opposition that could come was that the students who were already in session at the university could complain or even possibly take legal action that we admitted them for sessional program, and how is it that in the middle
semester
we introduce a semester? So the two of us thought about it, and we decided that we will convince the academic board by saying that those who are already at the university will continue on the sessional system, and new ones admitted would be made to understand that they will be admitted on the semester system. On the semesters, we had only 2 semesters. And at the end of each semester, there will be an examination, and the results would count towards the final quality of the degree a person gets. We were hoping also that if we introduce the semester system, it would reduce the strikes that the students used to go on. Because we saw that under the sessional system, we had 3 terms. Students were very seriously working in their first terms when they had been introduced to new classes, and then also in their third term, they were serious working, preparing for the exams. In the middle term, second term, they didn't have any such thing. So we noticed most of the strikes took place in the second term. And we thought that maybe if we introduce the semester system when students have to work hard for exams at the end of every semester, there wouldn't be strikes. But initially, maybe that may have worked. But after a little while, we found that it didn't make a difference. Students found reasons why they should go on strike. Yeah. So that was another thing he did in his term. The other thing was that the issue for strikes was mostly on food, quality and quantity. So he worked on disconnecting the feeding from academic work. And we decided that the domestic bursars would be given the university kitchen facilities and, if necessary, some loan to buy food and sell to the student directly. So the university will not be responsible for their feeding. So if they have complaints, they couldn't level them at the university. So that was another thing.
Another reform.
Another reform that was done. The last one I can remember was through him, mining engineering was introduced.
Oh, okay. The Institute of Mining and something.
Yes. Before, and I believe Dr. Evans Amfom, the university had tried to introduce mining, and it appeared that the expatriates at the mining companies were not interested, and that the reasons were not clear to us. So when I was asked to try and restart something on mining, I decided to use a different terminology. Instead of mining engineering, we said we will have geotechnical engineering. And under that, all civil engineering students will do 2 years and then go for 1 year practical training. Some of them could go to mining companies or anywhere they want to go. When they come back, they will make up their minds whether they want to be civil engineers or mining engineers. And this appeared to be acceptable to the mining companies. And they even gave us a professor whom they would sponsor, Professor Williams. And they also gave us some equipment. So that's how we started the mining section, first as
geotechnical
engineering. And when it was fully accepted, it was turned into
full-fledged mining.
Yes, mining, and it became a mining institute. The associated with that was that we used to have Tako School of Mines, and the head of it was a former graduate from engineering. And following the American system of having different campuses for one university, we thought we could start the campus system. So we persuaded the principal over there for us to make Tarkwa School of Mines a campus of KNUST.
So Tarkwa School of Mines was in existence before?
It was in existence before.
Oh, okay.
It was not part of the university. And it became a part of it. And the original fear was that the School of Mines would be overshadowed by the gravity and weight of the University of Science and Technology. But we assured them that that is not the case. That would not be the case, because at Berkeley, for the University of California, they had about 9 campuses. So I went to University of California, Berkeley. There's University of California, Davis, University of California, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and there have been so many of them. So that was what we tried to introduce. But subsequently, I understand that Tarkwa wanted to become separate, fully fledged university. So
yes, they are now.
Eventually from us. So these are some of the things that Bamfo-Kwakye did whilst he was Vice Chancellor. And I thought for the 2 years that I was associated with him when he did all these, he was very successful. It was a lot of productivity from his part.
Thank you. That's interesting news, especially about the School of Mines and he wanting to. That's interesting. Could I just please ask a bit more on that? Then we move to Professor Levine. So why did he want to why did he create another school on his own? Why did he want to, for lack of a better word, adopt an already existing school in Tarkwa?
Are you asking about Bamfo-Kwakye or Levine?
Yes, I'm asking about Professor Bamfo-Kwakye. Why did he think it relevant or necessary to?
The School of Mines at Tarkwa was not really doing university level work.
Okay.
And so we wanted to upgrade the work that they were doing there, which was very good, to university level work.
Okay.
So they will continue to do the polytechnic and technical things, but in addition, the best students could progress to do university level work.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was it. So it was the idea was to have campuses close to where people also live. And we were thinking, there was Nyampala, for instance, which was located near Tamale.
Yes.
And we had a commission on that, and we thought we would make that a campus, but not for only one university, but for all 3 universities, so they could do Savannah type agricultural research.
Yes, I think I remember that.
And in the end, they upgraded it also to a fully fledged university.
Yes.
And now there are more universities. You might know about one of our former professors, Prof. Esiewua.
Yes, the ambassador of Ghana to Switzerland.
Yes, before he became ambassador, originally he came as a research assistant when we were working on KVIP, and he became the first Vice Chancellor for the University of...
yes.
The first Vice Chancellor, not for engineering, but for a new university in Sunyani for renewable natural resources.
Yes.
And now he's an ambassador in Switzerland.
Yes, you are very proud of her. You mentioned her in the previous interview.
Yes, very hardworking, because I feel that, but for her hard work, maybe one of the courses I helped to establish, environmental engineering, would never have survived. But she was very hardworking. She has produced a number of students whom she described as her children, and she describes herself as my daughter. Therefore, her children are my grandchildren.
Okay. So, Prof, you also mentioned in our previous interview, Professor Levine, and so now we are at his, should I say, profile, there's a building also called the Levine building. And we'd like to know more about him. Because I think you mentioned in a previous interview that he's an Israeli and he was also a dean of the then School of Engineering. So when did you first meet him? What are some of the notable reforms he also made and achievements you think that are worthy of note?
Thank you very much for the question. I started contacts with Professor Levine through phone calls and letters. We didn't have emails at the time. And eventually he came to Accra and invited me to have lunch with him at the university's guest house. So I first met him in Accra at that guest house, whilst I was still working at the Ministry of Health as an assistant public health engineer to an Israeli public health engineer, WHO-sponsored public health engineer. We had, before that, helped to establish the then Ghana Water and Sewerage Corporation.
Yeah.
And they needed a lot of sanitary engineers or public health engineers to work there. And we had talked to WHO, which was prepared to give us pay for some sanitary engineers or public health engineers to go and work there. And so I had this meeting to talk about it. And casually, during the lunch, I asked him if I were to transfer to the university, how much they would pay me. And he asked me, how much would I want? For me, it was a casual conversation, not meant to move in reality at that time, although I had contemplated the possibility of doing that eventually.
Okay.
And so when he asked, I simply looked at how much I was being paid in the civil service and added a few cedis to it. And he said, okay. And I thought that was the end of it. And then all of a sudden, I received an urgent telegram from him that I needed to, RP Bamfo had approved the salary I had requested. And there was some agency that I should come to the university as soon as possible. And I said I needed to, give adequate notice before I could relocate to Kumasi. So that was how we met. And when I relocated, I was asked to teach two subjects. One was final year water treatment. The university was then attached to London University. And the degrees we took were not Kwame Nkrumah University degrees, although the university had been in existence for at least 2 years. But the degrees were London University degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had some syllabus to cover underwater treatment. And so I taught that was one of two subjects I taught. The other was hydraulics for all first year students. And I had to handle their laboratory work. The laboratory equipment and experiments were different from what I had been used to. So I approached the lab technician and asked him to teach me how to use all those laboratory equipment. And he was very kind to do that. And I told him that I would be teaching the students, but if I had difficulty, he should be prepared when I call him to add more based upon his experience and knowledge of how they work. So we became collaborative friends, and it worked out very well. So it was during my teaching of the final year students, that was 1963, that I met Professor Kwakye. He was then a final year student. So Levine, that was how I first met him.
Mm-hmm.
That was your question, how I first met him, yes.
How long did he stay when you came?
Levine, yes. I do not know when he joined. He must have joined maybe a year or two before me. Earlier, the students at the university who had done civil engineering hadn't done so well in the London examinations. And that was probably one of the reasons why Kwame Nkrumah appointed Bamfo. And the future of the university was going to depend largely on the stability in engineering. So Levine was recruited. He was a civil engineer, and he was recruited to become dean. He was very hardworking, very strict, and I think an excellent dean we had at that time. And he worked closely with R.P. Bamfo. And he restructured a number of things, and before very long, we became an independent university. We no longer needed to take London University.
The London exams, yeah.
Exams. We had our own exam, except that we recruited external examiners, some of them from London. I know that I think structures and hydraulics, in particular hydraulics and water resources, certain Professor Francis was very helpful to us from London University. Yes. So we still maintain some links with them for quite some time. And so that was Levine. As I said, he was very strict, and he helped to recruit. He was able to get his way in a number of cases. As one of his conditions for becoming dean and building up the engineering section, he argued that engineering professors and lecturers had to be recruited from abroad, and they needed to be given some special conditions as an inducement to come. So they received 10%. Their salary was 10% higher than what it was for the other lecturers in the other subjects. And those of us who were Ghanaian engineers in the Faculty of Engineering benefited from that. But later on, after he had left, I believe, the other lecturers from the other departments argued that it was discrimination, and they didn't agree that that should be the case. So eventually the difference, they were also raised to the same level as how the engineers were paid, and there was peace. So that was Levine.
That was him, yes.
When he left, Bamfo-Kwakye became the the dean of engineering, and it was whilst he was still dean that Amfom Professor Dr. Evans Amfom left, and Bamfo-Kwakye
he was appointed VC
in his place as the vice chancellor.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. So now we come to Professor Kumapli. You already let go hint that he was your student first before. Yes, so that's how you first met him.
Yes, he was one of the first batch of students I taught. He was in his final year when I first met him. And in those days, the best students were usually invited to come back for some time as teaching assistants. And then they were quickly sent abroad for higher degrees. And so he was one of those who were sent. And he came back whilst I was still there, and specialized in soil mechanics. It was at the time that I was head of civil engineering department, he was the hardest working lecturer. And if I wanted something done very quickly, he was the go-to person, the one I will ask to do, and he'll do it very quickly so that he can get on with his own work. He had a private consultancy company in Accra, but it didn't affect the quality of his work at the university. Faculty of Engineering was the first faculty to produce a doctoral, well, I'm not sure, a doctoral student. I was hesitating because I know that at the time that I was there, pharmacy was the faculty that was producing most of the research students, but maybe theirs was at the master's level. I don't quite remember if they supervised anybody for doctorate. But in collaboration with the Building and Road Research Institute, we, at the civil engineering, whilst I was head, supervised somebody, one Dr. Yabua, to do his doctorate. And Dr. Kumapre was the lecturer directly in charge of his research.
Okay.
So he was the first of the staff at the faculty to supervise somebody successfully to get his doctoral degree. Yes, so he was, what I remember about him was how hard he worked and how brilliant he was. And he was not only a good professor, he was a good practitioner. And many consulting firms used his services in soil mechanics and foundations design, yes.
That's
I
good
remember
testimony.
one case where some university professors were appointed to supervise the redesign of the main market at Kumasi Central Market, the market across from at Kejetia. The structural engineers proposed their design. He did further work on the soil and found that their design couldn't work. They needed to change the foundation from what they had planned to piles, and so they had to change. So he was very good, yes. That's what I can say about him.
He was very good academically and practically.
Academically and practically, yes. So that's what I can say. I was not surprised that he became a professor quickly, and that an auditorium has in fact been named after him. That's a very good thing to know.
Thank you so much, Prof, for the insight concerning all these three persons. It's been a very interesting, short discussion, but it has been very insightful. We are very grateful.
You are most welcome.
So, looks like until we have some other questions to ask, maybe this is where the history curtain will drop in our discussions, but who knows what may come next.
Yes, I'll just add that history is a very important subject, and certain Professor Parkinson defined it this way, that history is to an institution like the university or to a country what memory is to a man. So it's a very important
That's true.
Yes.
That's very true. If we do away with that, then we've lost everything. That's very true. Especially with the first interview and the things you opened up. That was really huge. Thank you so much, Prof.
Yeah, most welcome. It's my pleasure to have been able to make a little contribution to how the university...
a huge contribution. Thank you so much.